So, for decades, the standard approach to criminal justice in this country has been pretty straightforward, right? Lock people up and throw away the key. But what happens when they actually get out? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into how Kentucky is fundamentally transforming its entire correctional system. It's a fascinating shift. They're moving away from that classic revolving door of incarceration, and instead, they're building a comprehensive, integrated path all the way back to everyday life. To really wrap our heads around this, just think about this core philosophy for a second. Rehabilitation programs are increasingly treated as a public safety strategy, not just a correctional service. That's huge. The Kentucky Department of Corrections is basically realizing that merely punishing people doesn't actually make our communities any safer. Preparing them for release, that does. By actively utilizing evidence-based practices, practical life skills training, and targeted substance abuse programs, they're totally redefining what it means to serve time. To see how this all works in practice, we're going to map this journey out across 4 key stages today. First up, rethinking the purpose of incarceration in Kentucky. Second, we'll look at the actual rehabilitation happening behind bars. Third, we'll tackle substance use disorders. And finally, number 4, the bridge back home. All right, let's jump right into part 1, rethinking incarceration in Kentucky. It's a true systemic shift. You probably know how the old cycle worked. It was essentially a trap. Individuals would serve short sentences, bounce endlessly between local detention and state supervision, and way too often they returned right back to where they started. But Kentucky's new path, it aims to completely shatter that loop. By combining in-facility programming with concrete community reentry services, the ultimate goal is for individuals to actually leave custody with an education, proper treatment, and a realistic plan to survive on the outside. Moving right along to part 2, rehabilitation behind bars, looking at both the programs and the mindsets. This kind of transformation isn't just happening in massive state penitentiaries. It's happening right down at the local county level. Take the Campbell County Detention Center, for example. They recognize something so incredibly simple yet so powerful. Basic education is literally one of the best rehabilitation tools we have. Giving inmates the chance to earn a GED while serving time, it changes the math entirely. Someone who walks out of a cell holding a high school diploma is just fundamentally better equipped to find work, support a family, and stay out of trouble. And honestly, it goes way beyond just basic math and reading. The state's local facilities program catalog is incredibly robust. We're talking about adult education, targeted substance use recovery, anger management, parenting classes, and even faith-based or peer support. Real, tangible rehabilitation is no longer a luxury reserved for big state prisons. It's happening right down the street in local county jails. Now, the traditional view of rehab used to be pretty narrow. Stop doing drugs and maybe learn a trade like welding. But Kentucky is thinking much bigger here. They're utilizing cognitive behavioral programs, things like moral recognition therapy or MRT. In plain English, this means they are actively rewiring the underlying thinking patterns that lead to criminal behavior in the first place. It's a deep dive into decision-making, emotional regulation, family stability, and personal accountability. It's about changing the mind, not just the habits. Which brings us nicely to part 3, tackling substance use disorders, an absolutely central focus of this whole initiative.
Look, the scariest, most dangerous time for anyone struggling with addiction is the exact moment they walk out the jail door. To make sure all that rehabilitation doesn't just vanish on day 1 of freedom, the state uses SOAR. That stands for Supporting Others in Active Recovery. It's this specialized aftercare service designed to help programming graduates actually maintain their sobriety out in the real world, heavily emphasizing relapse prevention and safe, structured reentry.
Then there's Community SAMAT. This program brilliantly bridges the gap between custody-based treatment and community care. Instead of just throwing someone out into the world cold turkey, which rarely works, it acts as a transitional bridge. It provides medication for addiction treatment, ongoing counseling, and critically, Narcan education. They are actively equipping these individuals to prevent fatal overdoses in their own communities. And we should note, this isn't just some patchwork of local experiments. It's a core fixture across the state's facilities, too. Places like the Southeast State Correctional Complex have integrated specialized substance abuse programs and cognitive therapies as foundational, evidence-based offerings. They're relying on hard data, not just a gut feeling, to fix the problem. And finally, part 4, the bridge back home through integrated reentry. Kentucky flat out refuses to treat its county jails like isolated islands anymore. They plug them directly into state resources using a regional reentry structure. The progression is super clear. From incarceration, folks move right into reentry service centers. Here, state inmates and parolees get hands-on vocational training and addiction services, making sure they don't just return to society, but they actually integrate into it successfully. But hey, structures and programs, they are nothing without boots on the ground. And that's exactly where a dedicated team of 13 reentry employment coordinators deployed all across the state comes into play. Seriously, imagine trying to land a job when you have a criminal record, no transportation, and maybe no internet access. It's next to impossible. That's why these 13 coordinators are an absolute game changer. They provide highly practical, hands-on help, everything from walking through job applications to literally securing work boots or an outfit for an interview. This kind of immediate labor market stabilization is proven to be one of the absolute best ways to stop a repeat offending. And here's a really fascinating, practical incentive for you. Kentucky law actually allows certain supervised individuals to earn real program credit. If you put in the work and complete approved drug treatments or life skills courses, you get concrete credit toward your supervision. It takes rehabilitation from being this annoying, mandatory side activity and turns it into a highly tangible, rewarding goal. So, pulling this all together, Kentucky's model is really standing out for three massive reasons. Number one, they aren't just picking a single intervention. They're combining education, treatment, and reentry all at the same time. Number two, they're pushing this support way down into the local county jails where it's needed the most. And three, they are definitively choosing hard data and evidence-based programming over generic one-size-fits-all punishment. Now, to be totally fair and look at the big picture objectively, there are still hurdles. Access to these programs isn't perfectly uniform across all of Kentucky's jails just yet. It heavily depends on a facility's size, staffing, and funding. Plus, even the absolute best programs behind bars can't work miracles if someone is released into a community without stable housing or healthcare. As they say, the programs are the spark, but the community provides the fuel. As Kentucky actively works to reduce harm and give people a real fighting chance to succeed, it kind of forces us all to reconsider what justice actually looks like. I'll leave you with this to chew on. Does true public safety come from the punishment of incarceration, or does it actually come from the support provided the very moment the sentence ends? It's a complex shift, for sure, but one that is actively redefining justice today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the systems around us.